Bear, why do you have that piece of paper? Color correction. So you shot log. Now everything that you recorded looks like total garbo. Well, you need to color correct it. You can do it fairly quickly just by white balancing with a piece of paper that you're holding up in front of your camera, but a couple of other small tweaks help too. So today, in this video, second part of our little color tutorial, we're going to be talking about color correction, and eventually we'll move on to color grading, which is where things get really spicy. So stick around, let's get started talking about that color correction that you have to do. Alright, so getting straight into it, I'm just going to use the intro clip from this video to do my color correction with for demonstrational purposes. I'm going to do that by clicking on the video clip, pressing Alt and dragging it over to another place on my timeline. Give myself a little more room to work with, and then I'm going to add 3 adjustment layers, the length of the clip, over the clip. And I just realized that I've forgotten to make it so OBS shows my mouse when I record this video. So hopefully you can still follow along. I apologize for that. But you're going to need 3 adjustment layers, just blank adjustment layers. The bottom one is going to be for your white balance. The second one is going to be for your actual color correction. And the third one is for your color grade, which we won't be covering in this video. So for white balance, what you're going to need to do is open up your color panel in Premiere Pro. And you're going to click on the white balance button. And then find something in your video that is white. In this case, it's going to be the piece of paper that I'm holding up, which is something that you can do during production. A white piece of paper is a really easy way to just make sure that you're getting your white balance spot on. While you're adjusting your white balance, another thing you can do is you can correct your exposure here for your clips while you're balancing your clips. You just want to use the lowest adjustment layer to make sure that you are making all your clips look the same. Your white balance the same, they have roughly the same exposure, and they all more or less look alike. Because you want all your clips to look alike, so having them looking similar at the lowest level will make them all easier to correct for later. Now, I recorded all of these clips in this video at the same time in the same place, so there's not much for me to do in the way of balancing for exposure in this case. So I'm just going to move on to the second layer where we're going to do the actual color correction, and you can see that I've adjusted the contrast. I'm looking to get the blacks in, and then I'm going to play with the highlights. Try to get those highlights to a more natural level, because again, we shot it in log. And then I'm just going to move the exposure up until something in my scope in the lower left-hand corner hits 100, which is the top end of the white spectrum. Okay. And I'm going to keep balancing those highlights and making sure that all of that looks natural and correct. And I'm just going to make some very small adjustments to the color temperature. That clip was looking a little orange, so I pulled it down. And I also pulled it a little to the green of the tint to balance out some magenta color. I'm trying to get the red, green, and blue in the upper right hand corner. That scope, I want that balanced as closely as possible. And now I'm just going to move the saturation until my colors begin to come back in and look more normal, more like how I want them to look. And you can play with all of these scopes. You're going to have to move things around while you bounce around from slider to slider. Here you can see I'm moving the shadow slider, and I want to get the lowest pixels in the lower left hand corner down to 0. When something touches 0, you can stop at 0. That's going to be your blackest black color. So as soon as something touches 0, you're good there. And then you just continue to play around with the whites and everything until it looks like a normal piece of video. Like you have completely undone what you did by shooting in log. You've made it look exactly the way you want it to look, more or less, in your post-production here. Most importantly, you want your skin tones to look good. That's one of the most important parts of your color correction. Everything else you can adjust a little bit more when you do your color grade. Now to save it, we're just going to highlight our Lumetri color in our edit, right click it, click save preset, and then we're going to name our preset. And I think I named this one something like YouTube preset version 2. I already had a preset version 1. So now that I've saved that preset, I can remove that custom job that I just did, and I can go to my presets list, find the preset that I just made, and drag and drop it onto that adjustment layer, and it will bring all of that color information back. And it's going to look like that every time. You'll see that I bring another clip in here, and if I scroll back and forth, this one's color corrected, this one's not. So all I need to do to fix that is just to drag these adjustment layers over these clips, because again, these were shot in the same place at the same time. So when I drag these over, it should look the same. It should look just like the clip before. See, there we go. Both of those clips move one right into the other, and they look the same for all intents and purposes. They're white balanced the same, and they are color corrected the same. Okay. Now, we do have that third adjustment layer, but again, that adjustment layer is for our color grade. It has nothing to do with color correction, so we're not going to be discussing that one in this video. However, the next video, we will talk about that. Okay. And if you don't know how to shoot a log profile, I will be putting that information in a card in the upper right-hand corner. You can click on that. It'll get you the basics of what you need to know.
Good job. You did it. You color corrected your video. Now we can move on to color grading, and I'll post a link to that right there. Thanks for sticking around, watching the video. My name is Bear. If you like the video, press like. If you want to make sure that you see the next video, hit subscribe. If you want to make sure you don't miss anything, hit that notification bell. And we'll catch you next time.